Growing concerns over a recent newspaper columnist's assertion that a solemn and traditional tribute to America's fallen heroes should become a thing of the past. The column appeared in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, the writer suggesting that our cash-strapped government do away with funeral honors. He says most veterans did nothing heroic anyway. Take a listen to him on the O'Reilly Factor, in which Laura Ingraham was sitting in for Bill last night.
I write 4 columns a week, and I don't try to pick the most pressing issues facing America.
Well, why'd you do the heroic? Why'd you had to put the line in about they're not all heroes? I mean, why that?
Because it's true, and I'm one of them. I served in Vietnam in the Marine Corps, very unheroically. My point is, I think a lot of the guys are like me. When I got out, I went to college under the GI Bill, and I feel like I'm square with Uncle Sam. I don't think the taxpayers owe me anything more.
Joining me now, Pete Hegseth. He's CEO of Concerned Veterans for America. So while he acknowledges that combat vets like yourself should and would continue getting military honors at their funerals, he doesn't think anybody who served in the armed services should get those honors at their funerals because he thinks that's an area to save costs. Where do you stand on it?
Well, I very much disagree. I think he discounts all the aspects that support that warfighter, that combat veteran, which is less than 20% of the force, are in the infantry or combat arms out there kicking down doors. The remainder of the force is there to sustain them. They're cooking the meals, they're getting the logistics to the front line, and they're sacrificing time away from their family. They're putting their lives at risk by going over there and being in that environment. And even the ones back stateside that are training the forces going overseas or putting together the war plans, to say that they're not contributing or they're not worthy of it, what we spend in our government should be a reflection of priorities. And if there's one thing we should prioritize, it's honoring the sacrifice, pausing to take note at a funeral with a military, because this is over one military bugler, by the way, is what the column started with, that plays taps. That moment honors should reflect what we honor. And it's the service, it's the willingness to serve, not whether or not you were shot at while you were serving.
And I should correct myself, because what he actually said was he's okay with men and women who are killed in combat getting full military honors. So I don't know that he would agree you should get military honors someday, or anybody else who served in combat but wasn't killed in combat. I mean, just talk about it, Pete, because even though we have so many brave men and women who volunteer to serve in the military, just talk about what it takes, even if you don't go into combat, to sign up, to put on the uniform, and to be willing to take those risks.
It's been the same of every generation, but take this generation as an example. You sign up today or signed up any time over the last decade, you could be going to war. Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, you could be sent out to put your life on the line for your country. That in and of itself is an act. It's a heroic act. Yeah, is everyone out there on the battlefield doing G.I. Joe type combat moves? No, but that's not the point, and it shouldn't just be laying your life down for your country that requires the kind of investment at the funeral that of course we should be doing everything we can for those who gave the ultimate sacrifice in their families. And you go to Arlington and you watch what the Honor Guard does there, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. We do pay a lot of respect, as we should, to those. But we should also pay respect to the guys and gals that gave of their time and of their effort, of their energies that could have been spent elsewhere, because it is less than 1% of the population. And we're losing tens of thousands of World War II vets every week of that greatest generation. So his point was about cutting costs. I don't take issue with the point that if you don't cut any of the small stuff, nothing ever gets cut. I get that. But why he starts with military buglers and non-combat veterans, it seems to me a very arbitrary distinction. He's got an axe to grind with something about whether or not military retirees should be getting what they're getting, and that's fine, but it seems like a really silly point for him to make.
This is from a blog called Weasel Zippers that says, this is a quote, "When it comes to crap like welfare, liberals don't care what the cost is, but when it comes to honoring vets, suddenly they're deficit hawks." I mean, I don't know this particular man or what his political leanings are, but do you find some irony in the fact that suddenly he's very concerned about the deficit, and the first place to start cutting would be when it comes to honoring our vets?
No, that's right. I mean, why should our deceased veterans and their families pay for the financial sins of Washington? Just because Washington can't get its stuff together, why should we be cutting the bugler who's playing taps and reminding us of what we sacrifice for and what we fight for? The priorities are completely backwards. And you know what? Our organization has been out front about where we should be cutting the Defense Department and where we can trim the way we spend money, because we better be smart about the way we spend money these days. We do need to have belt tightening.
Pete, he thinks the VFW should pay for it, or the American Legion. He doesn't necessarily think the vets' family should do it.
Ask those VFW and Legions whether they've got piles of cash sitting in their Legion halls. They try to find creative ways to raise money to help the community. But to just say, hey, VFW, and I'm as believer as anyone else of outside non-profit organizations stepping up to fill voids where government doesn't have to be doing that. But this is one aspect where government should demonstrate how much it cares, how much it wants to give back. Just a small measure, a small recognition at a funeral for a family and a deceased veteran, whether they saw combat or not. That's something government, at the very least, should be doing. And there's a whole lot of other places. There are organizations dedicated to fat, small and large, that can be cut, where we could find those savings. This columnist is just way off.
Yeah, if we can send Jeff Neely to Vegas and let him bathe with his Bloody Mary, if we can pay to train shrimp on a treadmill, if we can pay to study the habits of overweight lesbian women, maybe we can still continue paying for military honors. Pete, thank you.
You'd think so. Thank you, Megyn.